Hey everyone! In the last lesson, we learned how to upload an image to Firebase storage and retrieve the download URL. In this lesson, we are going to initialize a new category object and upload that to Firestore. We are also going to take into account when we want to edit a category as well. So let's get started. We're going to be working in our upload document function. After we retrieve our URL, like we have here in the previous function, we are then going to upload a new category document to the Firestore categories collection. So we are going to pass into our upload document the URL string. So we're going to say URL string as a parameter to be passed into the upload document. And then here we're going to say upload document and pass in URL. And this URL is of type URL. So to get the string representation of the URL, we say URL.AbsoluteString. And that gives the URL in just a string format. And we're in a closure, so I need to say self.uploadDocument. All right, so once we get into here, what we want to do is we want to upload a new document to our categories collection on Firestore. So let's just refresh our memory on what those documents look like. We have our categories collection, and each document has an ID, an image URL, is active, a name, and a timestamp. All right. So let's create our reference, our document reference. I'm going to say var docref, and this is going to be of type document reference. And let's see here. It looks like we need to import Firestore, import Firebase Firestore, so that we have access to that type. So let's try that again, document reference. There we go. And the reason I'm doing it like this will become clear here in a little bit. We're going to have to take into account whether or not we are editing a category or whether we are adding a brand new category, okay? But for right now, we'll just leave this as is, docref. We're going to initialize a new category. So I'm going to say var category is equal to category. And right now we only have this initializer where we pass into it some data, okay, in the form of a dictionary. Let's create a new initializer for our category model. And this one will be more like the default one where we just initialize it with the properties here, okay? So to do that, we say init, and the parameters are going to be name of type string, ID of type string, image URL of type string, is active of type bool, and we'll give that a default value of true, and finally timestamp of type timestamp. And then here in statements, we say self.name is equal to name, self.id is equal to ID, self.image URL is equal to image URL, self.isActive is equal to is active, and self.timestamp is equal to timestamp. Perfect, so now we have our initializer. Let's go back to our add edit category VC, and we say init. Oh, looks like I need to save that. So save back in the category.swift. Now coming back to our add edit category VC, we can say .init, and now we want this one right here, okay? So you could do this one, but since we set a default value for is active, you'll see that we don't have to have it here in our initializer. So I'm going to select this one right here, and then I'm just going to do return so that these are kind of in a column. I kind of prefer my initializers like that. And so our name here, we can say category, it's name text.text. And I'm going to force unwrap this because we already went through the verification up here. We checked to make sure that there is in fact a name and that it is not empty. So I'm comfortable force unwrapping that right here. Second, we have an ID, and I'm going to just put an empty string in there for now. Then we have our image URL, which is this URL that we got in the previous step. So I'm going to say URL. And then for the timestamp, I'm going to say timestamp and initialize that right there. All right, so now we have our category. Let's go ahead and finish up our doc ref. So I'm going to say doc ref is equal to firestore.collection, and that is categories, and then dot document. Okay, so this is going to be for a new document. And you can see here that previously, when we initialize the category, we're putting an empty string here. And that's because we don't yet have the document ID. We'll get that from this doc ref right here. So now we can set that. We can say category.id is equal to docref.document ID. All right, so this is the first time we're actually uploading Firestore documents via code. Up until this point, we've been adding them here in the web console. So let's take a look at some of the documentation. All right, so in the last lessons, we were looking in storage. Let's go to Cloud Firestore, and let's go to Add and Manage Data and Add Data here. All right, so there's several ways to add data to Cloud Firestore. Let's see here. You can use the set document. Okay, so in that case, what we're doing is we're calling the reference. So this is what we created right here, a document reference telling where we want to add or update the data. And then we say .set. And remember that Firestore doesn't work with JSON. We work with key value pairs or field value pairs, like a dictionary. And so we pass in the data in a dictionary form. And I just realized I'm looking at the web version, change that to Swift. It's almost the same thing though. We have our document reference, then we say .set data, and we pass in the data, and then we get a completion handler back. All right, so that's one way, .set data. What this will do is create or override a single document. If the document does not exist, it will be created. If the document does exist, its contents will be overwritten with the newly provided data unless you specify that the data should be merged into the existing document as follows. All right, so when I use set data, I almost always use merge true as well, okay? Now, if you're just going to be adding a document, you can use the .add document method. And that will automatically generate a document ID for you, and you don't have to worry about that. This is the easiest way to add a document, but you don't have quite as much control. There's the case where you can update a document using the .update data. The catch here is that if your document doesn't already exist, that method is going to fail. So there has to be an existing document for you to update. All right, so those are a few of the available methods to upload data to Firestore. We are going to work with the set data for now. So let's go back into Xcode, and we can say docref.set data. And you can see here all of the different types. And we want this one right here with the document data, the merge, and the completion handler. Okay, so document data, we need this to be a dictionary. And right now we have a category. This is a Swift type, okay? So if you printed out this category, you would see that it's not a dictionary, it's a Swift type. We need to convert that to a dictionary, all right? So let's go back into our category model, and we're going to create a function to convert our model into a dictionary. So I'm going to call this static func model to data, okay? And we are going to return a dictionary of type string any, because that is what Firestore expects. And we're going to pass into it a category of type category. And we are going to initialize a data object. I'm going to say let data of type string any. So we're creating a dictionary. And then we're going to return that data. All right. So what this data needs to do is be a dictionary representation of our model. So I'm going to say key name value category dot name, the category that's passed in, comma, ID, category.id image URL. Let me double check that. Yeah, image URL. Okay. And that is category.image URL is active. Whoops. Oh boy. And that is category.isActive. And finally, timestamp. And that is the category.timestamp. All right, so this is our data that we are going to pass into the setData method. Okay, so if we save that, and I just want to come back in here and show how that is the same as what we're seeing here in the documents. All right, so this is what we just created to be returned as a static function, something like this. All right, so I'm gonna jump back into Xcode, come over to our add edit category vc.swift file, and let's create our data. Let's say let data equal, and we're going to call that function category dot model to data, and we pass in the category that we just initialized right here. Okay, so what this is doing is we initialized a Swift type category instance. We are then going to convert that back into a data dictionary. We pass that into our model to data function, which takes that category and creates a dictionary with the key or the fields that are required for Firestore. Once we have that data, we can pass that data right here, set merge to true, because we could also be editing at this point a category, and we don't want to overwrite entirely, we just want to update, as it were. And then completion, we can say error. And once that's done, we'll just check for the error, which we can grab right here and copy and then paste. And if we are successful, if there was no error, we're done. We have successfully uploaded the category image, retrieved the download URL, and then uploaded the new category document to our Firestore categories collection. So we're done. So we can just say self.navigation controller.pop view controller, and that will take us back to our categories view. In this case, I'm going to say animated is true. All right, so that is looking good. I see some code repetition here. We have these 3 lines that are pretty much the same besides the message in these 3 locations. So let's extract that into a function. I'm going to say func handle error. We're going to pass into this function the error of type error, and then a message of type string. And I'm going to copy this, paste it here, and change this message string here to the variable message that will pass into it. And then what we can do is we can just delete these 3 lines here. We can say handle error. We'll pass in the error and set a message. Okay, so what are we doing right here? This is uploading the document. So our error message could be, I need to make this self. Our error message could be unable to upload new category to Firestore. All right, and then we can replace those 3 lines. Oh, sorry, this should be lowercase error. There we go. All right, just gonna copy that, and we can replace those 3 lines here and here. And we'll just change the error message. So this is trying to upload. So we'll say unable to upload image. And this is unable to retrieve URL, image URL. There we go. All right, I think that cleans up nicely. What do you say we test this out? So what I wanna do is I wanna have our customer app open as well. I'm gonna run this on an iPhone XS. So we'll have 2 simulators open so we can kind of see the magic here. Okay, so here on the left, we have our consumer app, And here on the right, we have our admin app. Let's click on Add Category. And I'm going to, let's see what images we have. Camera roll. Let's do maybe this one here. And we'll call the category aerial photography. I'm gonna say done. And if everything goes according to plan, we should be able to upload the image first to Firestore. We'll retrieve the URL. We'll then upload a new category, Firestore document, and then we should see that populate over here in the consumer app right away. Actually, it'll be up here because that'll be the most recent one. So let's see how this goes. Add category. Ooh, fantastic. That is so cool. All right, so there we go. We are now able to add categories to our product. So that is pretty exciting. I hope you're psyched about that as well. In the next lesson, we'll take a look at how we can edit the categories as well. All right, so I'll see you there.